Hello, Tim. How are you, my friend? Really good
Good.
to catch up with you. Yeah, awesome to be able to talk about Tim Cocking and BrightCare and just hear your experiences. Just maybe introduce yourself. Who's Tim Cocking?
Yeah, good. Good to see you, Lloyd. Thanks for doing this little interview. Who is Tim Cocking? Well, so I'm originally from Edinburgh, and so that's how we obviously know each other. Lloyd, I'm married to Louise. We've got three little kids, 8 years old, 6 years old, and 4 years old. So they're starting to grow up. We're kind of in the family zone. We're getting into the slightly easier bit, which is feels quite good. Everyone's talking and walking and eating properly. And so for the past, in terms of my kind of work situation, business situation, for the past 11 years now, I've been building this company called BrightCare, which we started from zero, from scratch. And we have built that up in Scotland. And then 2 years ago, we decided that we needed the next challenge. So we relocated as a family and down to just outside Guildford in Surrey, effectively to grow and build the business in the southeast of England. So we've been down here for 2 years now. We've settled in. We've made friends, connections. We've started to build a bit of a community down here. Maybe slight delayed progress with the recent situation, but we still feel that we're making some good community connections, church connections, and such like.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
yeah.
Just take us back to when you first started BrightCare, because you started from zero. You started in your house essentially, with you just went how did the idea spring into your mind for BrightCare? And take us through those first few difficult years of starting the business, getting it up and running, starting branches in Glasgow and elsewhere.
Mm.
Take us through that time. What is going
Well,
through your mind?
so I mean, I used to have a proper job, and I fell into the. I mean, before I worked in sort of property stuff and lettings and all that, but I fell into that. That was never like a conscious decision, right? If I can do anything with my life, what would I like to do with it? But I did actually always know that I wanted my own, to build my own business, have my own company somehow. I guess it's a sort of a drive to be in control of your own destiny of sorts. It's like I'm quite happy to succeed and fail, but I want to fail because I screwed it up, and I want to succeed because I did something correctly, rather than maybe feeling at the mercy of other people's whims. So that was always the plan. So I had actually had lots of different business ideas and such like, and so it's sort of, I was in my early 20s. I was 23 when I started BrightCare, and I wanted to build a business in an industry which I felt would be growing for the foreseeable future. And of course, BrightCare specializes in delivering care to private elderly customers in their own home as an alternative to a care home. And that bit of the market, the in-home care bit of the market, and elderly care in general, is growing. It's like people are getting older, they are living longer. So there's clearly an opportunity
Mm.
in that sector. And so, I hadn't obviously had any experience in running my own business. So what business industry? I might as well give the best chance of success would be starting a business in something which was at least on a trajectory to grow, right?
Mm.
But what I always knew is I didn't ever mind what the business did. I didn't ever mind what product it sold, what services it provided. I just wanted to build something that I could be in control of, but not in control of it in like a controlling kind of way. Because actually, I would say that I see my role in BrightCare is more like the facilitator of other people's success. I'm not really bothered about. I'm not like a sort of celebrity, charismatic leader. The big Tim Cocking show. Actually, I take a more background role, and I find joy day to day in helping, my leadership team achieve great things, or help, or seeing people in the business really grow and thrive and do better in their roles and bring a contribution greater than they ever thought they had in them. And it's like if you put people in the right environment and create the right conditions, they thrive, they come alive, they play to their strengths, they love what they do, they love coming into work in the morning, they love their colleagues, they love the business. And it's the joy of watching that process, the little seedling grow into a big, strong oak tree. So we're 11 years in and we've seen lots of seedlings turning into good oak trees, but like maybe just littler oak trees. And like the joy of the next 30, 40 years, 50 years, whether it's BrightCare or other businesses, we'll be continuing to see those people grow into like super oak trees. It's like we're all on the journey of maturity and getting better, I guess, at what we do and what we bring, and understanding where we need to be positioned to bring our best contribution. So the idea behind BrightCare was subjected to what I would call the 2-month sleep test, which is where you have an idea and you write down all your business plan and you think it through. And if you're still excited about the idea 2 months later, then it's probably a goer. But if the idea, because your subconscious brain churns away in the background, and if you get less excited about your idea, if the spark, the energy for that particular idea dies off, then it's probably not a goer. So, there was one point where it was going to be a hot dog company. And there's another point where it was going to be a Mongolian barbecue company. And these ideas all died because I was excited, enthusiastic about the idea. But after a couple of months, I was like, it's kind of lost the energy. I've lost the oomph for it, And the minute if you don't have the energy for the idea in the first place, you're certainly not going to have it 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later. So I subjected the care at home idea to this little test, and I was equally, if not more, excited about it. Like 2 months later, so we went out, and I like the idea of, I think to start a business in something you know about is quite dangerous, because the thing that the person running the business needs to know about is running a business. It's not really about the product or the service that the business provides. That's other people's jobs. It's my job to be good at the business bit. And it's other people's job in our particular sector to be good at the kind of the operational practicalities of caring for people. And I suppose that comes back to this facilitator role that I feel that I have. I don't need to do the real I don't feel I need to know everything that goes on in the business or how everything's done. I just need to kind of hold that higher level thinking, I suppose, positioning. So even in the early days, straight away after I just reversed a little bit, but I didn't know anything about the care industry. So I actually just got myself a little job as a carer in a care home in Dunbar. And my wife, she's not involved in the business these days, but right at the front end, I think we lasted about 2 weeks together before she decided, no, I'm not working for this BrightCare, this tyranny of BrightCare. So, but she was involved in the kind of planning stage, I guess, at the front end. So she went to get a job in a care company, and we sort of pooled our learnings, if you like, and realized what we could do and how we could make it work. And then we hired people. So the first job was to hire a really great manager first off, right? And that was a pretty critical hire, that I was effectively hiring someone who, okay, maybe it was my vision, my baby, my idea, but I kind of wanted her to kind of execute on the detail, if you like. And then it was sort of through her that the first team in Edinburgh started to get built up.
Yeah, that's fantastic hearing all that again. And I've heard it so many times, but it's just good to hear it fresh in a new light.
Yeah.
You talk about people and, humans being, I guess, the product of BrightCare. Just tell us a little bit about the ethos and, that first person that you picked, how's that sort of ethos sort of embedded throughout the tentacles of BrightCare as you've gone?
Yeah. So I guess it's like, the first person I picked, I wouldn't pick again today. And that's because, and I'm not saying that that woman brought a great deal to BrightCare. You know, she really helped me get this thing off the ground. But as you learn and understand not only your business, but as a leader, you get better at knowing what characteristics are you looking for. And I don't really mean competencies. I mean kind of values alignment almost. Are you looking for in the people that you're effectively commissioning with, choosing the right people for your company and leading the company and setting the tone, setting the culture? I mean, obviously I set the culture ultimately, right? But I set it through the people that you hire. And so over time, I actually realized that this person wasn't going to be a good long-term fit for our organization. There was a few tendencies there that I don't think were optimum for creating the level of health and optimism and dream team environment that I was looking to create. But obviously in the early days, I was involved in hiring everyone really. And what I did, someone suggested that, so great companies, I think, are built because you pull a team around you where they all have a shared set of values. Ultimately, I guess they see the world, a set of behaviors, a set of beliefs, a set of kind of principles under which they operate. And I guess whilst everyone has a set of values, everyone does have a set of values, but most people don't actually kind of know what they are. They haven't quite figured out what they are. They can't quite articulate them, and they can't quite tell if someone else shares that with them, or they might intuitively say, oh, I'm feeling a good vibe about this person. So there's a bit of intuition there, but it's actually a really good exercise to try to articulate that. And the best way to articulate it is find the best people that you love working with the most, you get on with the best, and who you get most people who you get really excited about what they do and how they do it and the contribution, their attitude, their energy, and all that stuff. See if you can find what it is about their behavior, the way they do it, that you love so much, and then write it down. And then repeat that about 20 times for 20 different people, and you'll get a list of 20 odd behaviors, characteristics that you get really excited about. And you'll actually find that they are your values. But of course, no one can really have 20 odd values, if you like. You've kind of got to distill that into a smaller group of rules for life almost, which then from that moment forward, you would always be looking for in the people that come on board. But of course, crucially, the right people for me are not necessarily the right people for someone else, you know? And people will feel, it's kind of like that intuitive bit. People will feel predisposed to the value sets of an organization. They'll feel it in the energy somehow. I mean, they might see it in some words, but they'll feel it in the way, the connection that they have with other people. So they'll want to come and work for you because they're like, or work with you, I should say, really, because they sense that there's a shared value set and you can go on a shared mission. There's a shared sense of kind of purpose that everyone kind of aligns behind. And then what happens over time is that the people who don't align, if you've got some of the people who aren't quite right in terms of that value set inside the organization, the people that don't align, they will feel it. They'll feel uncomfortable in that environment. They won't enjoy coming to work. They won't enjoy what they do. They won't enjoy who they work with. They won't really love the organization or what the organization stands for. And they'll just generally feel a bit miserable and uncomfortable. And it's almost like the business self-cleanses when you've got a good set of values in place, because it ejects, the business naturally ejects people who are maybe not in a bad way, in a positive, healthy way. It ejects the wrong types of people for the organization because they feel so uncomfortable in that environment. And of course, that's good for them because they're miserable, and it's a great opportunity for them to go and find their place in the world in the right organization that is more aligned with their value set. So I can't even remember what the question was, Lloyd.
That was a brilliant answer, Tom. Don't you worry. That covered everything about culture, workplace culture, and the vibe that
Yeah.
you created. Because I think BrightCare, though I've never worked there, it just sounds like the place to be, just in terms of what you.
I think
Yeah.
in point reference to, or I made a point earlier about, I find, for me, I aren't bothered about the glory, right? You know, in fact, I kind of like I shy away from the limelight really if I can, because I'm sort of, I suppose I naturally lean towards slightly more introverted tendencies, but I find my joy in seeing other people succeed. I'm not actually bothered about being the hero myself, right?
Yeah.
But what I found is that a couple of our early managers wanted to be the hero. And it's like what hero managers do is they position themselves as up here, and they make sure that they hire people who are down here. And they say to the people down here is, you stay down there, please. Don't show me up. I don't want you getting too good, because then you'll like usurp me and I'll be out of a job or whatever. But actually, but great leaders are kind of hero makers. They make the people down there better than them, more brilliant than them. And when they excel to great things, they look up at them and think, brilliant, great, good for you. And I'm so proud of the progress that you've made. And my joy is in seeing you do well. I don't care that you're now way better than I ever was. That's the joy, is that you're way better than I ever was. So it's like B grade leaders will hire C grade staff, whereas A grade leaders will hire A grade staff, or in fact they might even hire A plus staff. You know, you'll find people who are better than them because they're not afraid. They're not nervous about being having their insecure. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that culture. I hope that you will write a book or something. I know that you don't like the limelight, but maybe you can get someone else to write it. And
yeah, ghostwriter.
I'd love to just pick up with you, maybe over just the 10 years of business, which has been the hardest time, maybe even COVID the last year. I know you said the last few months have been particularly tight. Just take us through how you've dealt with the difficulty. How did you get yourself out of the ditch, so to speak? With maybe talk about your team as well. I'm sure you took your team on a journey. You also mentioned having a burden for people in your organization, making sure they were cared for. So just talk us through your thinking over those difficult times.
So actually, I mean, I'm not trying to provide sort of the cliched answer, but it is a correct statement that the last year or so has been the toughest over 10 or 11 years. And I'm not doing down some of the nightmares we've had over the years, but what has been unique about the last year is it's just been so relentless. It's been for such a long period of time, but there's a key difference between fighting the COVID battle and challenges that brings than fighting other challenges and battles previously in the business. And the key difference is all around human connection and the energy that humans get when they really connect, like, and not on the Zoom and that, but it's like when you're kind of in the room with people, you can fix problems in way more powerfully than you can when you've spent the last 6 months, 9 months sitting behind a computer screen. So back in the olden days, you felt you felt that sense of unitedness, the energy of the human connection. It creates a much stronger sense of being able to prevail than when you are forced away from each other. Like, you're not allowed to see, humans crave this connection. They need, we're social creatures, right? We need that sense of belonging, that connection, but the internet doesn't replace it. It has to exist in real life. We need hugs, and we need handshakes, and we need face-to-face conversations. So in a world where all of our social norms and the way that we normally interact with our colleagues and such like has been completely obliterated, it's so much harder to deal with the problems. And of course, the problems get compounded because the challenges for us the last year haven't been any worry about, clients or staff dying of COVID. I mean, no one's died of COVID in our organization, not a single customer, not a single member of staff. In fact, I think we can count the cases, people actually being off with COVID on one hand across 18 months, and that's across 300 staff and similar sorts of numbers of customers. But that's that's an aside. What creates the burden, what creates the challenge there is in the absence of good quality human connection, our energies wane. We suffer. We go into ourselves. There's a well-being piece there that will, I think, maybe thinking more sort of internationally, or if I think keep it in the UK wide, with the next crisis is a sort of a well-being, whatever you want to call it, mental health, whatever type crisis from all this isolation and all that. It's not like because everyone's died of the bug. So it's like the last 2 or 3 months things have eased. I felt some energy coming back in. People's spirits are lifted because they're able to connect more than they have been previously. But one of the testaments or the hallmarks of our particular battle with, and I would maybe say battle with the response to the pandemic rather than the pandemic itself. So you're battling with the rules, if you like, the infringements on human freedom rather than the actual illness, but the team. The culture that's been built up over the last 10 years, it's like it was its big moment to prove whether or not it was for, whether they were a lovely culture for no good, or whether this culture was going to pull through and bring the business together and create something amazing, as in like overcoming the challenge. And I think businesses can go 2 ways. They can fall apart in a time of big crisis because the foundations aren't there to underpin the culture and the strength of the relationships that haven't been there. Or people come into their own and they pool together. And what happened in BrightCare is everyone pooled together. This is like all the long-term commitment to relationships over the last 10 years came into its own. That sense that the sense of dream team, it's like these colleagues have my back, right? We've got this together. We've got this. There's no greater sense of the sense that you can overcome any problem or any challenge when your teammates have got your back. You can't do it yourself. So no single person can think, oh yeah, I can sort this problem. You need to in the context of a really committed, high-functioning team of long-term, long-standing relationships, then you will always prevail. You can't lose. I'm not saying it'll be easy or whatever, but like that sense that nothing can beat you is joyous. It's actually I think it can be rare in life sometimes to experience that sense that we'll prevail. We absolutely will prevail. And we don't know how long it'll take. We don't know how miserable it'll be, but this team will pull together and it will work. And you just know it. You feel it. It's an energy there, and it's interdependence, which is the key. And interdependence is like team spirit on steroids, because team spirit is like, well, yeah, I can be part of this team. I'll do my thing, But interdependence says, I need you, and you need me. And if we unconnect from each other, it's game over. Whereas sometimes I think that team is quite a light word. Oh, we're a good team. It feels quite a light word, but interdependence, like we're locked in here.
That's good.
You can't go anywhere. I can't go anywhere. So we might as well pull together and make this thing happen. And of course, you compound that team by 5, 6, 7 people. And then, of course, the wider team, the whole business, and the whole business is locking together with this interdependence. And that's a very powerful force. So that's how we overcome in BrightCare. And actually what we have, the business runs on 3 kind of core values, if you like, and our third value is journeying together, united as one. It will prevail. We journey together, we work interdependently, we've got each other's backs. There's no lone rangers here, and there's no heroes. If you want to be a hero, go and work somewhere else. Here you find your joy, your sense of happiness and fulfillment in the team working and being successful, rather than you or an individual working and being successful.
Brilliant. What are your other 2 values, by the way?
So yes, we have 3 core values. The second value we talk about is this idea of we call it fighting for each other's highest possible good. And the concept there is that this is, on one level, it's tough love, right? Because it's like, if in BrightCare we want everyone to thrive, we want everyone to bring their best, and we want everyone to be positioned for their greatest contribution. But you can only do that if everyone, and it's that sense of, I talked about colleagues having your back. If your colleague has your back, they'll call out the stuff that needs to be said to fight for your highest possible good, whatever that looks like. And it could be a negative thing. It's like you've got a negative tendency, which is undermining your ability to function really well in the organization. And if your colleagues love you and properly love you, and care for you, then they would call that out and say, you know what, you're better than that. Yeah, you're better than that. And actually that's a positive thing, right? And then, but the flip side is underconfidence on an issue. It's like you're better than that because they don't know how good they are. And it's like they have way more to bring than they realize. Maybe they've been told as a kid or something that they're no use at this or that, or some teacher at school's told them that they're no use. And we're looking at it and think they've got masses of potential. So if we are all about fighting for people's highest possible good, then we're fighting for your best potential, right? Just as much as we're your best sort of positive, productive potential, just as much as we are about making sure that you don't do behaviors that are unhelpful and negative to the business. The first one's called looking in the mirror, which is ultimately about self-awareness. And if you want to function really well as part of a great team, you actually need to know what your strengths are. You need to know what you're brilliant at. You need to know what your sweet spot is. You need to know where you need to be positioned to bring your best. And equally, you need to know what you're really bad at, so that you put me in this position, I'm going to be miserable, and I'm going to not bring anything to the party. So looking in the mirror, it's about learning, it's about growing, it's about knowing our sweet spot, our kind of when you're in the zone. When you drive home from work at night and you think, I totally smashed it today. There would be that feeling, the driving home from work feeling, will be connected to something that happened that day, that you smashed out the park. If you can figure out what that thing was, that's you in the zone. And if you can position yourself, of course, to be just doing the stuff, which is you in the zone, then you're going to be a very good, productive individual and happier for it, right? You're gonna, the outcomes are going to be good. Everyone's going to win if you are positioned in that sweet spot as much as possible. I would say, like, you want to be in that zone. Okay, we all have to do stuff that we're not maybe not that good at or don't enjoy very much, which are connected. Usually you don't enjoy the stuff you're not good at. But if we can try and stay in the zone 80% of the time, then we're going to be happiest. But to be in the zone, you've got to have the to figure out where your zone is, you've got to have the self-awareness and the reflection to be able to look at that, and to know the negative tendencies that you have that actually undermine your influence or cause other people problems, cause relationship problems and all that. So I think there's a humility thing inside the looking in the mirror. You've got to be humble enough to say, you know what, I see that. I see how that's causing a problem. And yeah, I want to make some improvements in that area.
That's brilliant. I've learned so much from that, Tim, and I think we have to have a part 2 at some point. But I think let's press pause here. It's been wonderful chatting to you, Tim, from BrightCare. We're going to press pause now.